Big Boy
Big
Neighborhood.
Boy.
Let me tell you, first off, this is a pleasure to have this man in the neighborhood. We had him in the neighborhood once, but it was via Zoom, and the world is crazy, and you know what I'm saying? And I don't, I did the Zoom interviews, but it's like, it's like kind of a step down.
Yeah.
You don't get the texture of it, And then Ari, you live in my TV screen. You know what I'm saying? No matter how big or how small, we always see you on television. But
And you're
Ari,
smart.
Hell yeah. Ari Melber is in the neighborhood, the beat, MSNBC. How you doing, my good friend?
I'm great.
You got a title, though.
I'm excited to be here. It's an honor. So great to see all of you.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you in the neighborhood, bro. When do you get back and do your show?
I'm doing it today out of California.
Oh, really?
So
though?
we do it here.
It's
do it
crazy how
wherever we
you
are.
could do that now.
Yeah.
I think you're going to move out here.
Yeah.
I
Look
don't
at
know,
them
man.
over there.
To live and die in L.A.
Yeah,
You know?
it's the place to be. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't be L.A. without Ari Melber.
There it is.
You know?
And all the journalists.
Yeah. Ari, let me now when we think about MSNBC, there's sometimes you look at a network and it's kind of straight across the board. And now we do get attitudes, we get opinionated, we get those kind of things. But you have such a hip hop backbone. Like, when did you first fall in love with hip hop? Because you can tell, bro, by how obscure things that's on the B side and certain lyrics in an album. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody can quote a Drake, but Jesus Christ, you go deep. When did you first fall in love, or what was your introduction to hip hop?
For me, it was the Fugees score.
Really?
And going to Garfield High School, which is where Quincy Jones and Jimi Hendrix went, in the center of Seattle. And so it was just all around. That was what everyone was listening to. That was the first album that I remember being like, this really speaks to me. Wu-Tang was big then, and everyone was talking about it. But in my high school, hip-hop was what was going on. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't something you thought about that much. It was just, this is what's going on. But then, yes, I developed from there a really deep appreciation. I love it.
So, son, your first fall in love or introduction was Fugees? And
Pick
now
up
it
your
seems
microphone. Like, I just remember the beginning of that album.
And now we see them coming back together for a reunion, which I thought, when you kind of get on the inside and you do know a Wyclef or a Lauryn or a Pras, we always have this wish or hope of, man, put the band back together. And when I saw that they did announce that they're coming back, is that a show that you will attend?
I would love to see that. In fact, I got word that they were doing something pop up in New York.
Yeah.
And then, but hard to get tickets, and then the scalping tickets were super pricey. But I'd love to go see them again. I saw them open for Ziggy Marley in Seattle in '94. They were finishing out their opening concert set that they'd committed to, but they'd already blown up. So they were like top 10, but they still had to finish that tour. And it was really funny because that night it was called Summer Nights at the Pier, and they do this beautiful thing, concerts overlooking the water in Seattle. And more people were there to see them as the opening act than Ziggy. I loved them both, but I remember that night. So I've seen them then, and that was Lauryn in her prime. I remember being 14, looking up at Lauryn Hill, being like, whoa.
So you were 14 years of age?
Yes, sir, roughly.
Was that around your first concert?
No, because I'd definitely been around music. Seattle is a music town.
Yeah,
so
very
unless
much
you're
so.
closed off to it, like I was seeing, Soundgarden, Mudhoney. We have a folk life and a bumper shoot festival. Like, and I don't mean festivals now that shout out to festivals, but people go to party. These folk life was like a music festival, and so all ages, and you'd see acts all weekend. So I was really into that.
All right, do you still go to hip hop shows?
I do.
Right.
I just saw Megan Thee Stallion up in Queens as part of Governor's Ball. A$AP Rocky headlined. 21 played.
Oh, man.
And I love being in the crowd and seeing it because, like, we all love hip hop, so we know what we think about the lyrics and the stuff. When you're like at 21, I was like, there were a lot of kids. There were just a lot of children, like young suburban children, just banging their heads into each other. And I was like, all right, this is like the punk contingent, the suburban punk contingent for 21.
Hey, man, and it's wild that you get a chance to still go out and see them, though. You know what I'm saying? Like getting out in action. And what I do, I just went to some shows over the weekend as well. I like watching from the audience.
Yes.
Because I like feeling the sound. I like feeling the people. And I go sit somewhere and people are like, what you doing up here? I'm a fan of the music. Before I got into radio, I was always a fan. And my first introduction to hip hop was long ago, you know what I'm saying? But then wanting to be around it when I bodyguarded the Far Side, and I was a Far Side's bodyguard. And I took that gig because I wanted to be on the road. I wanted to be around it. And at that time, man, we're talking about Far Side, Souls of Mischief, you know, Master Ace, Apache, like the people that were Lords of the Underground, the people that we would run into, Pac later on. But and just, you know, if it was one show, then the next week, you know, if we're here Friday, then Pac is there on a Saturday. Then we'll go to, you know, SeaTac and we'll all be on the same festival out there. So I really enjoyed it. Wasn't making any money, but
but it was fun.
Oh, but was I wealthy in appreciation though?
Did Farside not say, if I were president?
Yes, they did.
I would make sure all the money spent
on good things.
On good things.
Yes.
I wouldn't have no lint in my pocket.
Yes.
I drop it. And now they're trying to spend the money, you know, here at home. So.
This dude.
Hey, man. But see, that's just crazy how you can go anywhere. And now people will know a passing me by from the Far Side.
Sure.
Oh, she keeps. But when you go into an interlude.
That is an interlude.
You know what I'm saying? Of if I were president, that just shows who I'm speaking with.
And what did you learn being on the inside in the contingent, the bodyguard? And by the way, real talk, I could say this as a guest. This is back when Big Boy was big.
Yeah.
Because
man.
you lost the weight.
Yes.
I know you gained a Hollywood star recently.
Yes,
so
sir.
it's a
Thank
trade-off.
you. Thank you.
Lose
Yeah,
the
you
weight, gain the star, which is heavy.
Stay alive. You know what I'm saying? But you know what, man? I've always been a fan of music, Ari.
Yeah.
So I knew my job and I did my job well. But I knew that I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to feel what the bus rides felt like, going to sound check, you know, handing out the passes, checking into the hotel, seeing different artists show up and seeing the camaraderie with the artists backstage and talking and real conversations. And I remember we were in SeaTac and we did a festival out there, and Pac and Farside were the headliners at that time. And so
you're talking about south of Seattle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Pac went on, and this is I Get Around Pac, you know, and the crowd goes crazy. Then the Far Side goes on, they go crazy. This is hot moments for both of them at that time. And so at the end of the show, it was probably like, they say 30,000 people, or maybe I'm rewriting history. And we all got in the same van, and Pac asked if he could come in our van. So we get Pac in our van and we're driving, but they're the headliners. So now the festival has opened and people are leaving. So we're caught up in this traffic, right? We're caught up in this traffic. And I remember it was some girl that was driving. She was giddy about being the transportation for Farside and Pac. So she must have really loved Pac, because Pac told her, get on the other side of the road and just drive and get us out of here. So she drove against oncoming traffic. And as she's driving, the police are looking like, what the hell, as she's coming towards them? They flagged her down, pulled her over. We get out, try to tell them, hey, we got the headliners in the car, so on and so forth. They're not listening. They're ready to write her a ticket. So Pac grabs a joint and he starts to light it up and starts to smoke it. By this time, a few people are knowing that Pac and the Far Side are in the van, right? And I remember it was this one girl, when he went to go put the joint to his mouth, she saw Pac through the window and she was like, he's about to, and he stuck his arm out and he told her, come here, and he went, shh. And I remember, dude, she was like about 8 years old, and Pac looked at her and he said, hey, you were about to see me do something that I shouldn't have been doing. He said, but don't say this is me and your secret. And this 8-year-old girl was like this, Ari, and shaking her head. And she has to tell that same story from her perspective, like how I tell it. Like Pac, she had a moment with Pac. Those were the kind of situations or the things that I had a chance to bear witness to with being on the road.
And did you have a feeling at the time?
I knew it
about him. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew Pac was special before the world knew he was special, not posthumously. I knew Pac was special here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would just sit down and have these conversations. Or my guy Kari, we call him Smokey, his mom and Pac's mom were in the Panthers together. So it'd just be moments, even before I got into radio, even before I got into bodyguarding, that we'd just have these conversations. Then once I got on the road and we all did shows and we all ran around together, then the radio thing happens. And now I'm Big Boy on radio, and one of my guests is Tupac. He walked in, he was like, you know, N-word, man, what the fuck you doing in here? I'm like, hey, man, this is what I do now. Did
he know going in that it was going to be with
you? 100%.
Okay.
100%.
But does it give you a better understanding of artists, both telling their truth, but also what happens, the reception they get in the world, having been on the inside. Because now you do all these interviews. I mean, this whole place is awash with amazing interviews of amazing people that connect with you. Did having that other vision give you that better insight?
100%. Because everything that I do in radio, even just taking speech class, taking yoga, taking Hebrew when I was in the 4th grade, like everything that I've learned helped me with this job. Just being an individual.
And what's more hip hop than yoga?
There it is right there. You know what I'm saying? Ask Russell Simmons. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Huh? Did I work that around? All right. Hey, Ari, if you had and I know I can't answer this, but I will ask you this. Hip-hop Mount Rushmore.
How many?
4.
Pac, Biggie, Lauryn Hill,
also
for personal reasons as discussed, and Jay-Z.
Damn.
I mean, for me, it rattles off pretty quick. And you have all your honorable mentions. I know people.
Give me your honorables as well.
Oh, I want to also hear Alive.
Right.
Only Alive.
Oh.
My honorable mentions, Andre 3000.
Yes.
Drake's got to figure in some way there because I love Drake and he has exploded this as a global pop medium.
Yeah, man.
But for me, again, it's all personal where you come to it. For me, I love Drake. I will represent for Drake. But he's not the lyricist of those people.
Right.
But he is so much.
Right.
He is so much. And then you got the up-and-comers, right? You have J. Cole and Kendrick. And we live in a time now where, for a lot of reasons that we know, everyone's in a rush, and we're very kind of short-sighted about the moment we live in. So people are really, like the goat emoji, what's it mean? If it means goat, like on the farm, that's fine. If it means I like this, that's fine. If it's supposed to mean greatest of all time, words have to have meaning, especially in our hip-hop culture. Greatest of all time means greatest of all time, not greatest this year.
Right
I see the magazines playing with it. I get it. Everyone wants to make a convo, but the magazines say the GOAT of the year. Well, that ain't GOAT.
Greatest of all time.
That's all
of
time.
the
That's
year.
goy.
Yeah.
Greatest of the year. So let's be precise. Our leaders, our artists, many of them are precise with their words, right? And this need to do that. So if Mount Rushmore is of all time, that's my of all time. And then we got artists that are coming up that are great, but let's see the body of work. And so in a way, it's not fair. How do you compare a 50-something Jay-Z mogul to an up-and-coming artist? We don't have to. I mean, we love to compare, but he's in a different life stage. And by the way, if and when we get an album like 444 from Drake or J. Cole, I'll be interested in it. But they might have to be in their late 40s and be parenting and be in a different business level.
Be art collectors, you know?
Damn.
So that's what I think about when we have those comparisons.
Hey, Ari, chief legal correspondent and anchor of The Beat. How in the hell do you, like, and Louis said it, man, and we talked about it, we're like, dude, this dude is so damn smart.
Yeah, too smart, bro.
Yeah, too smart.
Too much mind.
That's nice of you to say.
How do you land this gig? Like, you don't know, and not like, how did you get it? Like you robbed someone, but what were the steps to becoming who you are today? Just like schooling and what gigs did you have before? You know, were you always, you know, looking to be on television and like an MSNBC? Were you shooting for those things?
Well, did Drake not say, treat me like I'm blind, you got to hand it to me?
Jesus Christ.
No. I don't feel it was handed, although I do feel very grateful for a lot of people who've been mentors. The answer is slowly, because for years I had a full-time job while I was trying to do things in writing and in journalism. So I was writing during law school, but not in a way that was making any money. And law school is challenging, but I still wanted to have a voice on policy and a little bit in culture and music. So I'd be writing for free, or writing when you do a guest op-ed where you like submit it to the editor and then they come back, we don't like it, send us something else. 2 weeks later, you send them something else. This is closer, but we're not going to run it. You're in there, and this is like month to month to month. Then they do run something, and you get that. This was like a decade ago, but you get that $150 check for the piece. Right? You're not
made it. No.
It's not for the money. It doesn't feel that, but it is like, oh, you're in that magazine or you're in that newspaper. This was Yeah, a little, and then stepping out, and then people say, well, why are they interviewing you on the radio or TV? This would be like in law or politics. It'd be like, oh, well, they read the piece and they say come in and talk about it. The radio appearance also is exciting and fun, but that doesn't usually pay anything in journalism. So that's okay. You did, and that was slow, and that was years. But because I was either in school or working, and then I was practicing law for years and doing that on the side, and so it really came slowly and organically. And so then with TV, it was like, come on for free. Come on as a guest. Come on and guest host. Then you fill in, but you still go back to your day job. Guest hosting in our business isn't a full-time job. That's just, you're lucky they let you guest host, especially if it was for somebody big, even though with that night, everyone's like, where's Rachel? I promise she'll be back. Yeah. And so really over years, that's how it evolved. And then I got an opportunity from MSNBC in 2013 to come over full-time, and that's when I started. But that wasn't for the beat. That was just to come over and work there.
Do they ever, or have they ever told you that you make too many hip hop references?
No, I mean,
that's good.
Honestly, shout out to everyone's got jobs. Everyone knows there's a push and a pull. And I think in journalism, you have the internal dynamic of trying to figure out how to have a successful program, right? And then the external, which is pressure from people, whether it could be the Trump White House or it could be someone upset. So there's all sorts of pressures, and you have to figure out how to navigate that. But shout out to MSNBC, like, I wouldn't be doing this on the regular if they didn't say, great, let him go. I'm not saying everyone always understood what it was. But they were like, you know what? It seems real, like genuine, and you've earned your place here with all the other reporting. It wasn't like day one I came in and was like 3-6 Mafia, let's go.
Yo. Let's tear MSNBC up. Tear it all.
Let's get a smoking room in the back.
Is there anyone that you haven't had on your show hip-hop-wise that you would like to sit down with on a Friday night or something?
I mean, I'd love to have Jay-Z. Never had him.
Right.
I think Drake is fascinating. Drake doesn't do a lot of interviews.
Yeah, I know.
What do y'all think about that?
I know.
I think that he likes to have control, either control or the person, at least up until now, he has to feel very comfortable. Like, didn't he did a whole hour and 15 with the coach from Kentucky, Calipari, is that his name? And I'm like, he got the hour and 15 podcast, but it's because they have this really close relationship, and I feel like Drake can kind of be like,
hey man, and he was telling me, he was like, Big, I'm coming to see you. I'm working on something. Working on something. And then this thing called the pandemic.
That thing.
That thing hit. So hopefully we get him back in the neighborhood. But he's always a good.
But he's such a student of hip hop that he respects you and what you guys do. He respects the role of the cultivators.
Yeah, man.
But he doesn't do a lot of interviews. The Rap Radar was the longest, and that's with Tidal. And shout out to Elliot and B-Dot. A streaming service interview, though, is different.
Yeah. Because
if you're talking to Apple or Tidal or Spotify, you're kind of talking to a business partner.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? If you're talking to Big Boy, it might be respectful and thoughtful, but you're independent.
Yeah. Well, I probably don't want him in here. Then.
Different questions.
I always got to make it seem like it's me, the upper hand. I'll probably get him in here one day.
Should we take the band off now?
Yeah.
You can allow Drake back in?
If there was a concert tonight, Kanye at SoFi, let's say Kanye's at the Forum, and Drake is at Staples Center, whose concert do you go to?
Kanye.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
And better if it were at SOBs.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah. Why?
It's really this is so timeless, and it goes even before hip hop, but it's so big in hip hop. We have our artists, right? And we have our bangers. And I always say there's only two types of Drake fans. People who admit it and people who are in denial.
Right.
They're still Drake fans. How do I know? I work with evidence as a journalist. Here's how I know.
Yes.
Go to the club or the bachelor party or the wedding and see who comes out on the dance floor. Because, and I will say this, let's put some of the men in hip hop on blast. You have a lot of men who won't admit they like Drake. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And they talk about all the other MCs. They got a Drake problem, or they say this and that. And then watch at the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Watch at the dance. Watch what songs come out.
Yeah.
And they're dancing with the lady or whomever they like to dance with to Drake.
Or when they don't think someone watch them in the VIP lipping it.
Yeah.
Oh, you fancy, huh?
Hair done, nails done.
The camera's on you. And that's hip hop.
Yes, it is.
That is hip hop.
That's hip hop. That's the soundtrack to our lives. So that's the pop piece, which is exciting. And then there's the artistic piece. And to me, Kanye, what everyone thinks about his antics or his politics, he's an artist. And by the way, Van Gogh didn't have Twitter.
Yeah, oh my Lord.
But if he did,
Can you imagine?
you would have heard even more. And then you're going to say, oh, well, then his paintings suck. Why, his paintings suck because he said something you disagree with?
Right.
These are our artists. You have every
true.
right to disagree. I'm not telling anyone that you have to ride with what else Kanye said, but the art is the art. And to see him live, which I have done before, I saw him at Madison Square on the floating stage.
Yeah.
I want to say that was the Yeezus tour.
That was the one.
Or
The
Life
floating
of
one, I
Pablo.
thought that was
No,
Pablo.
Pablo, you're right.
Because he didn't complete Pablo.
Mhm.
Remember
Yeah, it
that?
was
Yeah,
Pablo.
that was the one he had.
And
to
by the way,
step away
talk about
from.
a vision real quick, because we love we were just talking about concerts. Okay, Kanye this, Kanye that, luxury, expensive shoes. He came up with a vision where everyone on the floor at some point would have front row seats because the stage kept moving.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing people say when you have a big idea like that? No, you can't do that.
Right.
Why? No one's done it before. It's expensive. There's issues. There's liability. What if this moving stage hurts someone?
Yeah,
I mean, these are
falls
real
down,
questions.
yeah.
But you know, I went and saw that show, and it was like, this vision became real. And why I literally thought, and this is what happens with great ideas. I don't care if they're in culture or life or politics. It's like Social Security. FDR was like, I mean, people get really old. Maybe we need to have some system. Like, that was an idea. Before it existed, it didn't exist. I was here. I was like, why didn't anyone in the history of concerts ever have this? Because the idea that everyone who paid could get at some point a front row seat is kind of amazing.
At one point, yeah. You'll be right
It made
there.
my neck hurt.
He looked dangerous.
Yeah.
Made me wait too long.
I was thinking that this stage is gonna fall on people. I understand the vision, Ari. I'm with you. It was very art. You know what I'm saying? I come from also with Earth, Wind, and Fire floating in the drummer playing upside down. That shit just made my neck hurt. You know what I'm saying? So, but it was very artsy. It was artistic. It was out there. But yeah.
Oh
it did-
my
Well, you know you
gosh.
got to protect your neck.
Yeah, that is true. Said.
Protect your neck.
There it is. Wu-Tang, you guys.
Oh.
There it
That was
is.
Wu-Tang.
Hello.
That was just quick.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Hey, we're going to do this all day. We're going to be paying attention. All righty. We got a lot of things going on in the world right now, bro. We're starting to see this whole Roe v. Wade thing. The Supreme Court is stacked. It's crazy that you could damn near be a month out and you could throw, Supreme Court justices in, but Obama could be, just in term and not, get anyone in. What do you feel about Roe versus Wade? Do you feel like that's going to be something that's going to get taken away? Because we're seeing so much conversation about it now. I think more than ever because people that's kind of charging it up the hill.
It's a great question. I mean, the Supreme Court ruled that women have a right to choice. That is the law.
Right.
There has been what they call a rearguard action for many years to try to limit that without directly overturning it. And there have been many steps to that. But basically, as with other rights in America, this ain't news to anyone who's aware, they seem strongest if you are privileged, white, wealthy. They seem weakest otherwise. And so it's already become very hard for many women, particularly in the South and in areas where this has been, because it's regulated at state level, a woman who is poor to even get an abortion. They made the clinic so rare through the law in parts of the Southwest and Texas that you would have to have more money than usual to get it. But you might be in a situation, you might be young, or you might be in a situation where you could barely afford the procedure. Again, this is a personal choice, but in theory, the law is that you have that right. But what good is that right if it is cost prohibitive or physically impossible or 200 miles away? So that's very real to women, young women and girls in America. Now they've gone further and are trying to basically create a kind of vigilante system. I mean, it's super Handmaid's Tale, where they're going to have private people incentivized to attack or bully you out of exercising, again, what the Supreme Court says is a right. And the last thing people should understand about that is there's a reason for that. It sounds sneaky. It sounds unusual. It is. The reason is for legal reasons that are complicated, but I can boil down to be simple. If the government does something, it's much easier to go to court and get a ruling on whether it's legal or not. So, for example, if the government says, well, we're only going to tax women, not men, only women pay taxes now. The day that starts, you could go to court. I could go file a motion, and immediately a judge is going to come in. And under our law today, that would be so discriminatory that a judge would say, no, the government can't use the power that way. That kind of sounds obvious, right? Like, even if you're a cynic, you'd be like, no, you're not going to get away with that. But by not making it the government going after these women, but making it private people, incentivizing that with a kind of a bounty, it's actually harder under the rules to get into court. So they're being really sneaky with it.
Wow.
And that, again, reminds you something that they must know they're pushing the limits or they're potentially breaking the law because they made it so hard to even go into court. So that's what's going on down there. Depending on where the Supreme Court comes down, yeah, you could see this right further whittled or eliminated. So this is really real to a lot of people. And like a lot of stories, when we talk about police murdering people, that's an issue for all of us. It happens more to black people than other people in America, but and black and brown people. It's an issue for all of us. This is an issue for women because they're directly impacted, but it's an issue for all of us to care about, is how I would put it.
Right. Do you get a lot of, like, what's your main topics that you're hearing as much that you're focusing on the beat?
I mean, a lot of it is whether Drake has a ghostwriter still.
Right. Yes, that is
That's
true.
like lead story.
That
You know
is
what I mean?
Every night.
And you got to deal with that. Look, what we do every morning is we get up and we look at all the stories of the day and then the big long-term stuff that might never make the news, but we want to make sure to cover because it's important. So if the government is spending money or there's a conflict or foreign policy, that's always going to be like, what's the lead story? Tonight we're going to be covering, are they going to spend these trillions or not? You know, and that's where future is not always relevant to the news.
Yeah.
But he did say, F up some commas.
Yeah. And
F
they
up
are.
some commas.
Yeah.
Let's have a money shower. People talk about, 3 commas, billionaire. Biden's not on some 3 comma mess. This is 4 commas. This is trillions. So that could be the lead story, right? But then I'll tell you another story we got coming up on the program this week is a guy named Jared Adams, who most people might not have heard of. When he was 17, he was charged with a crime. He got a 27-year sentence. Young black man in Wisconsin. He served 10 years of that sentence before he got it overturned. Comes out at 28. Put himself then through school and law school after having all this time robbed from him. His conviction was overturned. And then he won this very prestigious clerkship to go work on the court that overturned his conviction.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's working as a black attorney in America, trying to fix the system and represent people so other people don't have the fate he had.
Wow.
Now, I would tell you his story is amazing. I first met him about 7 years ago. Now he's a new book out. We're bringing him back on the program. But I would argue that if you look at a lot of the news, you might not see that story.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So we plan, to your question, the big stories, what's going on, and you got to know that, right? And then we have other stuff that we plan, and that story we've been working on. And when we put it on at a night where we can make time for it.
Man, it seems, Ari, like you got to know everything.
Yeah, man. Across the board.
You know, like with my job, I know a little bit of this. Like Natalia can do the news. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I know a little bit of that. You handle that, then I'll throw in some wit punchlines.
That's
or
why
my
we were
knowledge.
so well together, babe.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not gonna be at MSNBC with you sitting next to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I gotta get up on my own too. But it seems like you know everything, bro.
Well, that's kind of you to say. You want some big facts?
Yes.
And we're gonna put this on the internet.
Yes.
All right. This is for anyone listening to the sound of my voice whenever you hear this. And this is true in any field. We work in fields of knowledge, so we have specialized knowledge. We try to learn things, but this is true in any field. There's only 2 things you need to really know. You need to know what you know, for real, deeply, fact check. And you need to know what you don't know.
Damn, that even sounds confusing.
Yeah, man.
You're not,
If
not
you keep in mind what
confusing,
you know.
that just sounds like hard work too.
Well,
you know?
it is mental work, but if you keep that in mind, it's not about ego. It's not about pretending
Right.
you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you don't know.
Right.
You know what you know, and make sure you really know it. And this is, I
Gotcha.
mean, if somebody's listening right now and they're 18, about to try to go out into the world, know what you really know.
Yes.
Your field, your expertise, double check it, do your homework. Don't
Yes.
post before you know.
Yes.
Know before you post. And then everything else, don't be intimidated or overwhelmed. Know what you don't know. So if you're not a doctor, you
Yes.
might not know medicine.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
If you know about
Oh,
hip
my
hop,
gosh.
if you know about hip hop, but you don't know about opera,
right.
it's okay to say, I'm a big music person, but I don't know about opera.
Right.
Know what you don't know, because there are people out there. We have more access to experts and fans today
Mhm.
than we ever did
Yeah,
before.
man.
So you can go right now on the internet. You can find on the gram or TikTok and find the opera people so they know. And I don't know anything about cars, big boy. I don't even own a car.
Mhm.
So if I have a car problem, I'm not going to be a guy going, I kind of got it. No,
Yeah.
I know what I don't know. I don't know about that. And there might be someone else with different life experience who knows so much about cars that in a minute, they could, before even Googling, they could tell me something. So I got to know what I don't know and be as humble as possible about that. Know what you know what you don't know.
When we see that, and just to kind of slide off of that, when we look at what this device is that we have, these phones, and now, and I always make this reference. I say, man, you know what? Back in the days, people wanted 5 mics in the Source magazine. There was the Billboard, there was Source, there was, there were people that critics, and you knew that they were the one that was going to critique your album. Now with this device and with social media, everyone is a critic. Everyone talks about something that I feel like they don't know. When we look at, even when you look at the vaccine, anti-maskers, whatever it is, it's crazy how so many people just say, oh, I don't trust that. I don't trust that. I don't trust it. And they could be listening to someone that doesn't know a damn thing. They won't listen to science, but they'll listen to somebody that had a chance to set up something in their mother's basement and can get out and address people.
Did Method Man not say?
What? What did he say?
F a rap critic, he talk about it while I live it.
This motherfucker.
I'm going to ring that cowbell.
Yeah.
For that
Hey,
one.
my first bell.
Hey, man.
First rock the bells.
Hello. Hey,
Thank
and
you.
I love that.
Yeah, I think you're putting your finger on something really important. And there are ways to separate it out and test it. So people have a right to make their own decisions about their own healthcare, their own body.
Right.
I respect that. And I don't see my job as a journalist to tell people what to do.
Gotcha.
But I will tell you what the facts are. And if you're trying to make a decision off wrong information, I'm going to tell you, you have the wrong information. That is also part of my job. Even if it offends you, even makes you turn me off and hurt my ratings, that's my obligation. That doesn't mean I'm telling you what to do. You might say, oh, well, I don't want the vaccine because it has a Bill Gates microchip in it that's going to track me. And I'm going to tell you that is false, and I could show you the evidence why that's false. After that, you could say, well, I have another reason I don't want to take it. That's fine. That's your choice.
Right.
But let's get the facts right, because some facts are knowable and some are less knowable. But with this area, we have a lot. And I go back to surgery. You got people going, well, my friend Roger told me they rushed the vaccine. Okay. Shout out to Roger. What's up?
What up, Roger?
Would you let Roger do open heart surgery on you or your child?
Exactly.
Because that's the level of analysis and expertise required. Would you let Roger cut open your child? And if you would, we got bigger things to talk about because you get my point?
Yeah. Let me know, are we
that's pretty
cremating
good
or are we
point.
putting them in an actual...
So that's relying on Roger.
Right.
That has to do with facts and expertise. So if you wouldn't, you say, oh, but this is different than that. No, it's not. People are dying. This is a health decision. Now, if you say, I talked to my doctor or I looked into it and this is the choice I landed on, fine. But yeah, I think we have a world where because it's become so easy to share and to just tune out what you don't want, there's emotional reasons why, right? It's not that different than like, somebody says they love this person, then it doesn't work out. Now that's the worst person in the world.
Right.
Well, come on now. Feel how you feel. But like, are they really the worst person in the world? Because we all were around. We saw the photos in Belize.
Yeah.
We saw the photo. We saw the heart that you guys drew in the sand with the names. So are they the worst person in the world, or do you feel this way? It's okay to feel this way. But if you're making life and death decisions for your own self or your kids, take the feeling. Okay, I want to feel resolved. I want to feel like I'm ignoring the stuff I don't like. Let's get past the feeling and make sure you're getting the right information. And then do you. I understand why people also say, who is it for the media or this guy to tell you what to do? No, I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's the same with the insurrection.
Right. Oh,
Right?
my Lord have mercy.
A bunch of white supremacists violently stormed the Capitol. That happened.
Right.
That doesn't mean that all Republicans are racist. Like, you can still have a debate about other things. But if someone comes along and goes, no, I watched Tucker Carlson said it was mostly peaceful. Okay, Tucker Carlson's lying to you. Here's the video. Let's deal with the facts.
Right.
And that doesn't mean, again, I'm not for demeaning someone because they don't want the vaccine or because they happen to be a conservative, but let's deal with the facts. And we're living through a crisis of that.
Do you feel like, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, speaking of Tucker Carlson, everyone loves a good rap beef.
Mm.
Are there like news correspondent beefs? Because there are some people who drive me crazy on other like
Oh, my
networks.
God.
You need a crew, bro?
Anybody that you can just point out and we send somebody with their ass?
I don't seek beef.
Mhm.
Right.
You know.
Uh-oh.
I don't want two gats to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I want my mom safe up in the street.
Right. Go ahead now. I see
So,
where you're going. Right.
You know, I don't want to go to ICU. So
Right.
for all those reasons, shout out to What's Beef. I'm not looking for that life. Also, I have to be.
Oh shit.
Crazy
Go ahead,
guy.
Ari.
I have to be clear about what we do on the beat, right? 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Say it.
We do objective news, and that gives us authority. So when we show what I said about police brutality, it's facts. Now, some people then look at that and go, well, that makes me angry. We should do something about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good conversation.
Was
to have.
2020 a hard year for you?
Hardest year in news for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Very sad. We always deal with sad stories, but they have lift. Like if I'm doing a criminal justice story, as sad as it is, I feel that I'm hopefully trying to, it doesn't always happen, but I'm trying to do something useful. And sometimes when I'm dealing with people in that story or victims' families, they say, thank you for telling the story. I feel that even sadness is met with a purpose. When we were covering the endless COVID deaths, I was just sad. No point.
Yeah,
it felt
man.
like, I'm not saying no point, but it felt like sometimes just tragic. No point.
Yeah, bro. It was like we were dealing with so much at 19 and, 20. It was like, man,
It's a lot.
whatever the politics were, the great divides, then you think like, man, okay, we go into the year, we're looking at something, and then we think, wow, we lost Kobe Bryant. We think that, man, how bad can he, this is it. Then you go into this COVID even more so, the lockdowns and George Floyd, and it was just, and then, an election year, and it was just, man.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. That's why so many people just tried to fast forward and like, man, I can't wait till we get to 2021. Now we're talking about 2022.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, there's a festival going on. Like we're outside,
Yeah.
But yeah, that 2020, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
Do you have a lot of people, Ari, that hate you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what do the emails
How do you
look like?
answer that question?
Do you have people
DMs.
rolling up on you, filming you, telling you you're the most disgusting human being they've ever encountered? Because that happened to Tucker Carlson. And I hate
Right.
that guy.
Keep going back.
No, I don't
like
have a
him.
lot of that. I don't have a lot of that. I love that question because it's like that's what I would ask somebody.
Right.
Like, how do I answer that honestly? I am not aware of a great deal of intense hatred. I am aware of criticism, which is
Right.
fine in my business, and I am aware of opposition, where people have decided that they think, MSNBC means or stands for something, and they're
Right.
against that. But I don't think, in fairness, I deal with an overwhelming amount of vitriol, and I also think that the news has a type of authority, even if people quibble with it more, and as a white guy who looks like a younger version of the role that's been played historically, I'm probably subject to less of that vitriol, which I'm aware of, but I just am who I am. But I'm aware of that as compared to if, say, someone who looks less like what people have been told should occupy that seat went and did a bunch of the same stories, right? So I'm
Right.
aware of that too. But I also think, having said that, my job every day is to get up and prove it. And that means that even people who might be disinclined to the news or the media or this and that might say, oh, but you know what? He did show his work. He showed his evidence. So I've run into people before who say, I watch your hour, but I don't mess with a lot of the mainstream TV corporate media.
Right.
Or I disagree with what I think you stand for. I'm like, well, you don't know exactly. I mean, they might have some sense of my values, but you don't know everything I think. But I think you're fair. So that's my goal. But yeah, we operate in a world where people have strong feelings.
But you will do the research, or you will look into it, and you'll do the, know what you know and know what you don't know. But there's some people that, and let's just say Lil Wayne drops an album today. People say, oh,
well,
man.
Lil Wayne just dropped an album last
But
week.
they say it's whack. But let's say it dropped today, or there's an album that's coming. People will say it's whack before they even listen to it.
Oh, 100.
You know what I'm saying? And
Are
we're
we
so
gonna
stubborn,
talk
we got our minds made up.
100.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Trust Fund Babies?
Talk to me.
Lil Wayne,
Go ahead now.
Rich the Kid.
Right.
I didn't see that collab coming. A full album.
Hey, man. And
Not a full album. Yeah.
but let
Well,
me
mixtape, but it's got
Yeah,
like.
well, I meant sorry. I meant more like I imagine them maybe doing one track together,
Right,
but not
right.
like
Yeah,
a project together.
got you.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And it's got some. I mean, some of the songs are like similar, but
how
it's got
do
some
you
bangers.
find that time? Because I haven't listened to all that yet.
You know what? You're
And-
sleeping on Trust Fund Babies.
You know what? I'm not sleeping. I'm napping. I am napping. And I'm thinking that, like, my schedule, like, oh, man, I had to do these TV shows. I got my radio show. But you got about the same amount on your plate, even more so.
Well, it's fitting that you're napping because babies nap.
Right. There it is.
So you can nap, trust fund babies.
Right. There it is. See?
A lot of babies in the game.
I like how you brought that back.
You know what I'm saying?
Believe that.
And, Drake doesn't believe in naps. I don't take naps.
Right.
Me and the money are way too attached to go and do that.
Hey, man, let me tell you also.
Bro.
I really don't take naps. I wish I did.
You don't? I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
I nap. I believe in napping.
Really?
So you're napping on trust fund babies. How does anyone keep up with anything? Music can play with other things. So if somebody said, like these people who keep up with all the new TV, there's more shows than ever and movies. I'm like, but that you have to really watch that.
Right.
Right? But if I'm driving over to Big Boy,
But you don't even drive.
but in LA I do. But
Oh, okay.
but or if I'm in a car.
You have a license.
Yeah, I have a,
Okay.
I have a license. I have a license to ill.
To ill. Hello.
Beastie Boys.
I know where you were going.
Oh, my
You know what I'm
God.
saying?
No,
Hello.
or you know what I mean? Transportation. I could be on
Yeah.
the subway in New York.
Right.
I could be in an Uber. I could be driving. I can always have the music going or go in the background. So that's how I think about it. But I do know what you're saying because when these movies, like I love A.O. Scott, the New York Times movie reviewer, and when he'll review a movie, he mentions like 4 other films, and then he'll say, which invokes this early, predecessor to The Godfather, and he went back and watched that, and I'm like, how's the guy watching 8 movies this
Yeah.
week?
I can't.
And then writing,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Day in Vegas, right? And I was literally looking at this lineup, and I was like, man.
Let's see it.
And I'm looking at the lineup, bro, and I'm like, there are so many artists now. There are so many artists now,
That's what's up.
Too
bro.
many.
Yes. So, and then like my
Why
son.
they got Baby Keem and Kendrick on different days?
But you know what?
When they got 3 songs together on
But
the album.
you know what?
That upsets me right out the gate.
Because they
think
planned
that-
it before.
But and Keem is going right now.
Yeah.
But I think that helps when they go and do something together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I feel that Kendrick wouldn't go early on Keem. You know what I'm saying? But Kendrick's night, I could see Keem coming on.
back. Oh, true.
That makes sense because he's in town.
Yeah. He'd be right there.
This is actually a very strong lineup.
Yeah,
Isn't
man.
it?
Insane lineup. The headliners.
Because I just was at Governor's Ball, as mentioned, but it had a lot of great artists, but it was not this level of rap lineup.
Damn.
This is close to like Rolling Loud.
Yeah. Do you go to Rolling Loud?
I'm going this year in New York.
Yeah.
We out here.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing a live broadcast.
Hell yeah.
You want to come out?
I need an MSNBC camera with me.
Yo, you want to come out?
What,
We can
to-
walk around.
To Rolling Loud
Yeah.
in New York?
Yeah, you could do your bodyguard thing.
Yeah.
Walk
I love
around.
it, dog.
Because I'm always on swivel. Let me ask you this, Ari Melber, while I have you in the neighborhood.
Don
If
Tolliver, this is tight.
MSNBC and the Fox Network, if y'all were to have a fight,
What's up?
fist fight, just meet in the parking lot, Ron Burgundy style.
Anchorman status?
just
Great
Anchorman.
reference.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? You guys are out there ready to scrap. You go back into the building and you take the elevator up to your floor. Who walks back in the building after an MSNBC fight and a Fox fight? Who gets on the elevator and go back up to their floor?
See who we got over there on the other side.
Meaning, who's really like tough on our side?
Yeah, who wins?
I think in the lead of that pack is Rachel Maddow
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
Yeah.
They're more than fine.
So if it's just the Team NBC, Team Fox, who wins the fist fight?
I mean, we don't condone violence.
We
but
don't.
But
We don't.
But to do the artistic hypothetical,
Yes.
I think we win by a lot
Mm-hmm.
because we spend most of we all could do better, but we spend most of our time here on planet Earth in reality. And if you live in the fiction of your own mind, you go, I hit so hard, and you never test it in reality, and you only hang out with people in your bubble.
Yeah.
Then you come out and you find a real situation.
Yeah, man.
Reality's gonna really wake up on you.
Yeah.
So if you're living in your own bubble fantasy,
Yeah.
right, you're not gonna be as good a communicator, as good a friend, as loyal a person, as good a fighter. And it's like Rick Ross said,
Damn.
when the lights come on, that's when you see who the real guys are.
Damn. And I'm going to tell you, you just stumped me with that one.
Respect.
He just stumped me.
Mm.
I had everything else. now I want to come with one back on him.
Hit him.
Come on, hit him.
Heavy.
Nah, I'm old.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, man, what the hell? Us girls. Who the hell is us girls? Us girls can boogie too. He'd be like, man, what the? You know what I'm saying? Be quoting like Grandmaster Caz lyrics. So I'm like, yeah, what about this? Yeah. Ari Melber, it is a pleasure to have you in the neighborhood,
really
bro.
nice.
You got to come out. We got to go to a show the next time you come out.
I
too.
would love to do that. I mean it.
Yeah.
And rolling with you guys would be so fun because I just can't even imagine what it's like when you cut through the crowd.
Oh, brother. And
Well,
I like,
you're not
I'm
gonna
going to
make
tell you
it
straight
there.
up, dude. I like being recognized.
You're not
so
gonna make
excuse
it
me.
there, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm one of those. They be like, Big, let's go through the back. I'm like, no, I'll just cut through here. You know what I'm saying?
Go through all these pictures.
I worked hard to say hello. You know, I worked hard for every picture, so I'm going to take it. Do you have people that recognize you in the airport or? Yeah, and what is that like for those that rock with you, and then those that as you're in the airport and somebody's fighting about wearing their mask and you walk by and they see you?
Sure, I mean I get recognized, but it's much more diffuse. So because it's the news,
Right.
So some people are really into the news, but a lot of people it's just like the news is kind of on. So it's like I know you from somewhere.
Right.
Like, did you go to Clan? You know.
That's what Kevin Hart
You go
said.
to
You
Clarendon
finger
High.
snaps
You
famous.
snap famous.
Fingers, he said, "You
Yeah.
finger, man, aren't you?"
Yeah. And then I have some people where it's like they're basically there, but it's not like they know my name.
right.
I had a guy come up to me on the street and he was like, "Yo, hip hop CNN."
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah,
I know what he means.
Yeah, man.
He means news. CNN means news.
Yeah.
Hip hop. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
better. Like,
Hip hop CNN. I know you, man. I know your
And then-
face.
and
hey,
then-
man, this dude, man, this homeboy that be talking all the rap stuff. That's
But
him right there,
and then you
man.
get hardcore news junkies. But what's funny about that is news junkies. It's not even like a picture or something because I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an artist. It's not like that. So a hardcore news junkie actually knows your name, and then they want to talk for 10 minutes.
Oh yeah,
for real.
How
for
do you
real.
give them that time?
Yeah, for real.
Well, then it depends. Like sometimes, yeah, you want to be nice to everyone. I love that people are, I appreciate that people are into what we do. So it depends. Sometimes people are reasonable. Sometimes it's different. I mean,
Do you ever get to change my mind? Like people that come up to you and they
I
want
don't
to
play that.
have the conversation.
I
like,
don't play
oh.
the change my mind, but I get sometimes like, okay, well, but is Biden going to compromise? What's going to happen with this? We talk for a minute, and then I'm trying to go there, like, but one more thing. And sometimes it's like anything in life, you move
Right.
on. But I also had like, during the Trump era, things were intense. I was somewhere once where I was out in Brooklyn, but just minding my own. And this person came up, and I saw they're like coming up to me.
Oh, you seen it, huh?
And it's like coming up with something in the hand. So I'm like, just appraising.
Mhm.
And I see that as she gets closer, it's a book. Okay. But she's clearly like coming like with the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
And she comes up to me, and this was after the Mueller report had been released
Uh-huh.
about all the Trump, investigation. And she goes, "I appreciate what you do, Mr. Melber. I've been waiting to give this to you. I want you to have this." And it's a bound printed copy of the Mueller report.
Oh shoot!
So I was just like, but like, I already read that for my job.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Now it's just going to take up space.
but it was meaningful to her, but it was like, that's a news junkie, right? That's different than if somebody actually got to meet Tiana Taylor or Whitney Houston and was just like,
Yeah.
I'm not getting that. I'm getting more the, hey, I want to borrow my
Right.
book.
So there's no like MSNBC groupies or nothing. You're
No.
not walking out.
I don't think so.
And there's some old MILF outside or nothing like that.
We're all just groupies for the truth.
Right.
big boy.
Right. I love how you brought that back around. I love how you brought that back. So they're not waiting downstairs.
I mean, there is, if you go back to G Unit,
Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, shoot.
Here we go.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
you have Groupie Love.
Yes, you do.
Which people forget that song when right after 50s blew up, G Unit had that whole album group. You know it.
Of course.
Of course.
Classic.
He's
but-
had groupie love.
But that song is a warning. It's a warning.
And not for him. I mean, he's been out there trying to sleep with other rappers. You know what I'm saying?
It's a thing,
he's
bro.
out there. Yeah. It's a whole different thing. We'll talk about it next time you come down.
We out there.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, we talk about hip hop being a flex and having that desire to blow up. But then a lot of rappers talk about not wanting too much attention or at least the wrong kind. I mean, Pop Smoke on
Yeah,
Dior, which is
man.
one of his biggest songs, talks about saying that his male fans, in his view, were too much like they wanted him, and then say, they're all up in my comments, they're like groupies, right? And it's that thing in art in general, the people they want to hit. Clive Davis told me, when he helped Diddy start Bad Boy and his Whitney Houston and involved in a million things. Clive said, every artist wants to go big. And those that say they don't are just
Right.
pretending.
Right. No, I don't want to blow.
But then you go really big, and then you're like, oh, because
Yeah.
we've all met artists where it's like this. It's not it's not the life they want to live
and
every
it's
day.
crazy. We see that, especially in our genre, man. We want you to be in a certain area too. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you man, I hear people say, man, I liked him more when he was underground.
Yep.
Or when you hear the old Kanye, like what the F does that mean? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
you know what?
he's too big now.
Isn't it funny because the work is there? If you said that about a friend, if it was like, man, I liked hanging with Big Boy back when he was the Far Side bodyguard and he didn't know so many famous people and he was really big, so you could always just give him a burger and he would just be busy with that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what you're doing, but you obviously are doing it right. You're super healthy.
Well, it was gastric bypass years ago. Now it's a different lifestyle.
But for friendship, I understand it. For art, I don't, because all the work is there.
You
If
can go
College
to-
Dropout is what you rock with, then play that.
Right.
You think,
yeah.
oh, CLB's too long and it's all sonically like this. I really like that other track. Fine, play that other track. It's there
Yeah.
for you. That's the thing about art. It doesn't age.
And that was some of the stuff with
That's so
Kanye.
true.
There were just some albums that I didn't rock with. Like people
Fine.
love 808s and heartbeats, right? But I was a little slower on that. Then, I came back around on Pablo too. But I listened to certain things.
Pablo's hard.
But yeah, man, I came back around on Pablo, But yeah, if you missed
so
the
true.
old Kanye, play the old Kanye.
And
there.
that's why I believe when you say like, how does art come up like in the news? To me, it's like, of course it comes up because the news has to be about people's lives and what we care about. And we care about art because it makes us experience life on a deeper level.
Ari Melber, thank you for coming into the
Thank you,
neighborhood,
guys.
man.
Thank you.
Chief legal correspondent and anchor of
He's
the
smart.
Beat MSNBC.
Hella smart.
Yeah, yes, he is hella smart.
Yeah.
Y'all stick around, y'all radio's Big Boys
Big
Neighborhood.
Boy.